Good afternoon, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio, as you can see. It's gorgeous. Got a lot of bright sunshine here and everything. Gotta make sure my camera's all steady here and doesn't fall over. But hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. I've had a few bottles just kind of sitting around that I haven't gotten into, and I had the idea that since they're all three the same type of whiskey, that I would do a triple tasting instead of like a double comparison or a single. And all three of these are rye whiskeys, and they're all pretty hefty stuff in the rye whiskey world. I'm going to show you guys what I got. The first is a High West whiskey, and it's a double rye, and this is from Utah. And this, I believe I've had this before. I've had something from High West before, and I don't remember if it was this exact kind or if it was another. Some water. But I remember it being very good. And so I got some more of it recently, and that's what I've got first on the table. Second is the Michter's Single Barrel Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. Now this, I've heard a lot of good things about Michter's as a bottling, as a distillery. They are distilled in small batches according to the Michter's pre-Revolutionary War quality standards dating back to 1753. So that's a pretty big claim there. And so I've heard a lot about it, just like when I heard a lot about the Whiskey War, and I've been really interested to give it a try. So that is second on deck here. And finally, another thing that I've seen a lot of people excited about recently, I joined a group called the Central Ohio Whiskey Society on Facebook. And while I'm a little bit farther east from Central Ohio, they still have a lot of good information there, and I've had a lot of good discussion. And they recently did a barrel pick. They went down to Kentucky. So I believe this is from Kentucky. Oh no, it's from Baltimore. It's from Maryland. They did a group barrel pick, which it was way before I had a chance to get involved with it, so there's nothing from me on this. But they did a barrel pick of Sagamore Spirit Rye. Now, since I wasn't involved in the part when they did their pick, I didn't get the exact bottle that they got, but I looked online to see if I could find a barrel select that somebody else might have done to see if it was similar. And so I got one that was hand bottled for a group called the San Diego Barrel Boys out in California. And you would have the barrel number, what floor it was on, and what rack it was on. So it's pretty neat. I would like to do one of these of my own one of these days here. I don't do a lot of traveling, honestly, but it would be nice to take a look at it. So that's the Sagamore Spirit Rye Straight Whiskey, and that's the third tasting I'm going to be doing today. So, let's get started with the High West Double Rye. Now, rye tends to be a little spicier, a little bit a different kind of a flavor from other bourbons and whiskeys. Rye tends to affect people in different ways, too. Some people want to start fighting when they drink a lot of rye, so gotta be careful. Some nice deep notes in there, kind of rosy. I'm gonna go ahead and pour myself my little shot here. Again, I'm using my tin cup, courtesy of Tin Cup American Whiskey. I always like to reuse things that I get from distilleries. Drop a couple drops of water in there. Alright. Of course, magic number is 3. All threes today, looks like. 3 ryes, 3 drops of water. Doing good. Alright, so this is the High West Double Rye. And it's very smooth. It has a burn after the fact. It has a burn that settles in the chest after the fact. So, and it has a little bit of whiff that gets up your nose as you're drinking it. But it is very smooth. Very smooth, very deep tasting whiskey. Good stuff though. I like the smoothness, and I like that burn afterwards. Got to clean the palate for the next one. That's a good example of a rye. It has a lot of good flavor. It rolls around your mouth a little bit. Real kind of syrupy, not like a syrup, but it has that kind of a flavor, a flavor texture. A little bit of caramelly kind of taste to it. Good stuff. I remember liking the High West before, and I still like it now. If it's the same exact kind that I got before, I don't remember if it was the double rye or if it's not, but I like what I'm tasting right here. All right, now on to the Michter's. The Michter's I've never had before, and it smells a little bit more alcohol smelly. I used to have a phrase that I'd go by when I was picking alcohols of stuff to avoid and stuff to pick up. And I would usually avoid things that had a high, what I like to call the kerosene factor, where it just tasted like burning alcohol and kerosene just burned and didn't have a flavor. I'm outside, so you're going to hear all the outside noises here. This has a little bit of that alcohol-y kind of nail polish remover smell. But underneath it does have a bit of like a toffee, kind of like a toffee smell. Like old hard toffee. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my tin cup. Put my drops of water in there. How many? 3. That's right, you're paying attention. Alright, so this is the Michter's Single Barrel Straight Kentucky Straight Rye. It is even more smooth than the High West. It is very, very smooth. It doesn't have that afterburn, but it does have a little bit less overall flavor and more in the... It has a definite more alcohol taste to it. Now, proof-wise, the High West is 92 proof. Okay. And the Michter's, if I can find it here, it should say somewhere, is 84.8 proof. So it's a little weaker of an alcohol, but it has a little bit more of an alcohol taste to it. I think it might be a good mixer. I'm not so certain that it'd be the best on its own, but it's not bad. It's not something that I would just be like, nah, pucker my nose at and just be like, nah. But it is more smooth than the double rye from High West, but it does have more of an alcohol taste to it. Less burn, more smooth, more alcohol taste. So you got a little bit here and you got a little bit there. It's a bit of a balance in things. Yeah, you get that alcohol and a little bit of spiciness in there. So a little bit less overall flavor than the High West double rye, but it's easier to drink. Which again, the less burn could be due to the fact that it's a slightly lower proof. But it's good. It does have a good flavor to it, even though there's a little bit more alcohol taste than I would have preferred. But I think it would make a good old-fashioned, or maybe a good Manhattan. It would make a good cocktail, I think. So not bad. Not bad. I think I like the double rye, the double rye from High West more so far, but it's nothing to complain about. And now we're on to the Sagamore Spirit. Now this is 110 proof, so this is a heavy hitter. This is a 110 proof, and the fill date on this bottle was 2013, so it's been sitting in this bottle since 2013. When they do these barrel selects, they're usually a certain number for people who are in clubs or single patrons, and they don't make a whole lot of that run all at once. They'll let you do your barrel pick and they'll whatever. So there's probably not too many bottles of this floating around in the wild. This is probably pretty rare if you do a barrel pick. And they have a little they have a little bit of a blurb on the back of it about how it's a blend of 6-year-old straight rye whiskeys, and each barrel of high rye is expertly blended with a low rye mash bill by our distilling team. So, no two expressions taste the same, and you are guaranteed to enjoy a one-of-a-kind product. So, again, this isn't exactly what I would have had with the Central Ohio Whiskey Society. This is a different bottling than what they got, and I'd be interested to compare it to what they got if I ever got my hands on a bottle. But those are pretty much all accounted for, I think. I mean, they were pretty specific in making sure they got just the right number of bottles for members, with maybe a few extras that went to the person that organized the whole thing. But I might get in touch with them and ask them about it and see if they have anything floating around and if they could ship it to me. They're based in Columbus, for the most part. Columbus, Ohio, which is the capital, which is a good 3-4 hours from here. So it's a bit of a hike for a bottle. But who knows? I might check in with them and see what they got. And this has a very mild smell to it. It doesn't have a big alcohol smell. It smells a lot more like a sweet whiskey smell. Definitely. So I'm looking forward to trying this, because this was kind of an unknown. I'd seen the Michter's around, and eventually I went ahead and got the bottle. And I'd had the High West before, and I'd enjoyed it. But the Sagamore Spirit kind of hit me out of left field. I'd seen the group post a lot about it, and so I thought, you know what, I'll take a dive on it. So let's pour a little bit into the tin cup. Put the stopper back in there. Gotta make sure they're good and properly sealed out here, because being in Ohio, we've got ants all over the place out in the backyard, so I don't want any ants coming up and thinking they're going to steal my whiskey. Gonna get my water dropper. You already know how many. 1, 2, 3. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. What's with you in the threes, Mr. Spider? Well, it's a thing. I'll explain it to you sometime. Anyhow, this is the Sagamore Spirit Barrel Select, specifically barreled for the San Diego Barrel Boys, who I have no idea who they are. Maybe I'll get in touch with them after I've done this video and see what they thought about their barrel pick, and let them know that I tried it. So, very butterscotchy once it's out of the bottle. Very butterscotchy, caramelly. Interesting. Now remember, this is the highest proof out of those 3 bottles. This is 110 proof versus the 92 proof for the High West and the 84 proof for the Michter's. So, let's see what it's like. It has a little bit of a burn, but not by much. I would have thought the burn would be more, and at least similar to the High West, but it's actually kind of in between. It has a little bit of burn that gets up into the palate and kind of settles in the throat. The taste isn't as sweet as it smells. It's not as sweet of a rye when you taste it as when you're smelling it. But you do get some of those butterscotchy kind of flavors in there rolling around the palate. And hopefully my palate's not ruined from those other 2 bottles. Hopefully I've had enough water in between. so I can be kind of a fair comparison. But it definitely has that almost butterscotch topping that you'd put on ice cream, like a malt topping that kind of rolls around your mouth, like kind of. With a very mild burn, very mild. For the high proof that it is, it doesn't hit as hard as you would think. The High West hit the hardest out of the three, which is really interesting. Proof doesn't always mean, even though it's technically a stronger alcohol concentration, it doesn't always mean that you're going to taste that and then it's going to hit your palate that same way. So you can get something that's pretty high proof, but is abnormally smooth and just ridiculously smooth and doesn't heat you up much at all. This has a good mouth numbing effect, and there is some spice in there. Like, I'm getting kind of those little hints, like when you eat something spicy and then you drink a bunch of water or a bunch of milk to try to clear out the spices, and then that leftover like kind of spikiness that kind of sits in your mouth. I'm getting a little bit of that at the edges, at the corners. Not so much on the tongue. The tongue is a little bit numb, but a little bit more on the inside of the mouth here. So that's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like it. I like it. I'll be interested to keep sipping on that. I think that also would be a really good mixer. I think it'd be great in an old-fashioned or in a Manhattan or whatever kind of crazy cocktails that you guys can come up with. I've made a few of my own that are pretty interesting. I haven't written anything down, though, so I can't really quote them to you here. But on the next official episode that we have lined up for the actual show, the Uncanny Spirits Club, it's going to be on YouTube, iTunes, etc., we're going to be doing cocktails. We've done the first few episodes, and we haven't posted them yet. We've done them all a week apart, but we haven't posted them yet because they're in the editing process, and editing is kind of, here or there. But the next set of episodes after that, we're going to be doing some mixers and some cocktails, and I think this would be a great mixer for that. The Michter's would be decent, but I think the Sagamore Spirit would be a great mixer. And I'm probably planning on doing some old fashions with it sometime this coming week here, and see what I think about that. So, there you go. You've got the High West Double Rye, the Michter's Single Barrel Kentucky Rye Whiskey, and the Sagamore Spirit Barrel Select from California for the San Diego Barrel Boys. Okay? All three pretty good stuff. They've all got their strengths and weaknesses. I'm kind of like, ooh, you can't see me behind all the whiskey. But good stuff. Out of the three, I think I'm liking the Sagamore Spirit the best because of the great balance between the proof, the alcohol taste, and the actual smoothness and the actual flavor. I think the High West has the most flavor, but the Sagamore Spirit, I think, balances it slightly better compared to the other two. But they're all good. I didn't taste anything that I didn't like today. So I encourage you guys to do your own research, do your own checks, check into what you like. If you've tried any of these, leave a comment on this video and let me know what you thought about any of them. I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear your stories and your comments about it, and compare your notes to what I made about it. Okay? So, until next time, cheers.